Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in life when you must understand something crucial. You are not replaceable. You never were, and you never will be. The world is filled with billions of people, yet among them all, there is only one you. Think about that. Out of all the faces, all the voices, all the minds that exist, there is not a single person who walks, thinks, speaks, or dreams in exactly the way that you do. This is not arrogance, this is fact. From the moment you took your first breath, you carried something that no one else could. Your essence, your individuality, your irreplaceable nature. Your experiences, the way you process thoughts, the emotions you pour into the world, the impact you have on others, all of it is uniquely yours. No matter how much someone tries to imitate, they can never replicate the soul behind your words, the intent behind your actions, the energy that radiates from your presence. People often go through life underestimating their own significance. They measure themselves against others, believing that value is found in comparison rather than in authenticity. They silence their voices, believing that what they have to say is not unique enough to matter. But here's the truth. What makes you valuable is not how you measure up to others, but how distinctly you stand on your own. The moment you embrace that, everything changes. Consider the way certain people light up a room the second they walk in. Not because they are the loudest, not because they demand attention, but because their presence is undeniable. There is something about the way they carry themselves, the way they listen, the way they exist. It is not about being better than anyone else. It is about being so completely yourself that no one could ever mistake you for another. Think about the times in your life when you were truly seen, truly understood. The connections you made were not based on superficial similarities, but on the deeper recognition of something rare, something only you could bring. Whether it was the way you made someone feel safe, the way your laughter carried through a room, or the wisdom you offered without expectation, these are things that belong to you alone. Now, consider the reverse. Think about those who failed to recognize what they had in you. Maybe they dismissed your kindness as ordinary. Maybe they took your presence for granted, assuming that someone else could fill the space you occupied. But what they did not realize, what they will one day understand, is that what they lost in you, they will never find again. The world may offer imitations, but never replacements. People may search for another friend, another partner, another mentor, another voice that speaks to them the way yours did, but there will always be something missing, something they cannot quite place, because it was never just the words you spoke, never just the actions you took. It was the heart behind them, and that heart is yours alone. This is why you must never dim yourself to fit into someone else's expectations. Never believe that your worth is defined by who chooses to recognize it. Some will see it instantly, others will realize it only when you are gone. But the truth remains unchanged. You are one of one. So, let them underestimate you. Let them walk away. Let them believe for a moment that they can replace you. In time, they will understand their mistake, and by then you will be somewhere far beyond their reach, having grown into an even greater version of yourself. Because while they were searching, you were evolving. While they were regretting, you were thriving. Your uniqueness is not something to be proven, it simply is. And once you fully embrace that, you will never again question your own worth. There is a dangerous assumption that people make when they become too comfortable with what they have. They believe it will always be there. It is in human nature to take things for granted, to assume that what is available today will be available tomorrow. They assume that kindness has no expiration date, that loyalty will never waver, and that patience will stretch indefinitely. But life does not work that way. When someone fails to value you, when they treat your presence as an afterthought, they unknowingly set themselves up for a realization that will come too late. They do not notice the small sacrifices you make, the unspoken ways in which you hold things together, the silent battles you fight just to be there for them. They assume you will always pick up the phone, always understand, always forgive, until one day, you don't. There is a moment when something inside you shifts. It does not happen suddenly, it happens over time. Disappointments pile up. Words that should have been said remain unspoken. Promises are broken. You begin to realize that your time, your energy, your love, these things are not infinite resources. They are gifts. and gifts are not meant to be thrown aside as if they hold no value. So when you finally walk away, when you take your kindness, your loyalty, your presence with you, something remarkable happens. The ones who took you for granted begin to feel the weight of your absence. The silence you leave behind is louder than all the words they ignored. The things you used to do without being asked, the way you made life easier for them, the support you offered without expecting anything in return, all of it becomes painfully clear the moment it is no longer there. At first, they may not even realize it. They may think you are just taking a step back, that you will return, that you will forgive once again. But as days turn into weeks, and weeks into months, reality sinks in. They start searching for what they lost, trying to find it in others, expecting someone else to fill the void you once occupied. And yet, no matter how hard they look, no matter how many replacements they seek, they will not find another you. Because people are not interchangeable. You are not just a set of qualities that can be copied and pasted into someone else. Your thoughts, your emotions, your way of seeing the world, these are uniquely yours. No one else will laugh quite the way you do. No one else will offer the same understanding. No one else will bring the same depth to a conversation. The way you loved, the way you cared, the way you showed up when no one else did, these things were never ordinary, they were rare. And what is rare cannot be replaced. This is the cost of taking someone for granted. By the time realization comes, it is often too late. By the time regret settles in, the door has already closed. They may wish to turn back time, to undo their mistakes, to say the words they should have said, but life does not grant such luxuries. Some losses are permanent. Some lessons come at a price that cannot be repaid. But here is the most important part. You must never waste your energy on waiting for them to understand. Your value does not increase or decrease based on whether someone recognizes it. You do not need to be validated by those who failed to see you when they had the chance. Your responsibility is to yourself, to protect your peace, to give your energy only to those who appreciate it, to walk forward without looking back, knowing that your presence was never the problem. Their inability to cherish it was. And so, when they finally realize what they lost, when they reach out, when they speak of regret, let them sit with the consequences of their actions. Let them learn the lesson they refused to see before, because in the end, what they lost in you, they will never find again. And that is not your burden to carry. Growth through loss is one of the most painful yet powerful transformations a person can experience. When you lose something, or more importantly, when someone loses you, it can feel like the end of a chapter, the closing of a door you thought would always remain open. But loss is never just an ending. It is, at its core, a beginning, a rebirth, a chance to redefine yourself in a way you never imagined possible. There is a strange paradox in being undervalued or taken for granted. It hurts, yes, but it also serves as a mirror. It forces you to confront your own worth in ways that comfort never could. When someone no longer sees your value, you are given a choice. You can allow their blindness to define you, or you can recognize that their inability to see does not mean you are invisible. Their dismissal does not mean you are disposable. What you must understand is this: sometimes, people can only appreciate light once they are left in darkness. While they had you, they assumed you would always be there. They mistook your consistency for something ordinary, your presence for something permanent. They failed to realize that your loyalty, your kindness, your energy, these were gifts, not guarantees. And so, when they let you go, they believed they could simply move on, as if what you brought into their lives could be replaced like an old chair or a misplaced book. But life does not work that way. What is rare cannot be duplicated. What is real cannot be mimicked. They may search for someone with your warmth, your laughter, your patience. They may seek to fill the space you once occupied, trying to recreate the comfort you provided. But there will come a day when they realize, perhaps too late, that some things once lost are never found again. That is their lesson to learn. Yours is different. Your lesson is to understand that loss is not a reflection of your inadequacy, but a signal of your evolution. You were not abandoned, you were set free. You were not rejected, you were redirected. And while they are searching for what they once had, you are stepping into a version of yourself that they will never get to know. It is tempting, in moments of loss, to look back, to wonder what could have been different, to question if you should have done more, been more, given more. But the truth is, if someone fails to see you, it is not your job to convince them of your value. Your energy is far too precious to waste trying to open the eyes of those who refuse to see. Instead, take that energy and invest it in yourself. Allow the pain of loss to sharpen you, not break you. Let it mold you into someone stronger, wiser, more certain of your own worth. Do not let it make you bitter, let it make you better. There is an undeniable power in walking away from people who do not appreciate you and choosing instead to pour into yourself. You will grow, you will evolve, and one day, without realizing it, you will look back and see that what felt like an ending was in fact the greatest beginning of your life. Because you are no longer waiting to be seen. You are no longer waiting for validation. You are no longer searching for something outside of yourself to confirm your worth. And when they finally realize what they lost in you, when they understand that they will never find it again, it will no longer matter, because by then you will be standing somewhere they can never reach, too far ahead, too strong, too whole to ever look back. They may search in others, looking for the same laughter, the same depth, the same quiet understanding you once provided. But no matter how far they look, no matter how many hands they shake, they will never encounter another who carries your essence. People often believe that when they lose something or someone, they can simply find a replacement, that the world is vast, filled with billions of individuals, and surely there must be another just like you. They will convince themselves that what you offered, someone else can offer too. They will try to fill the space you left behind, seeking in others what they once found in you. But no matter how hard they try, they will soon come to a painful realization. You were not just another person, another option. You were an experience, a presence, a force that cannot be replicated. You see, the human mind often underestimates value when it is readily available. They assume that the laughter, the wisdom, the comfort you provided was just a part of life, something that could be found elsewhere with enough effort. They believe that relationships, friendships, and connections work like objects. If one breaks, you simply replace it with another of the same kind. But people are not objects. You are not an interchangeable part of someone's life. What they do not realize at first is that what made you unique was not just your actions, but the depth behind them. The way you listened when they spoke, truly listened, with your heart and your mind. The way you understood their silence as much as their words. The way you stood by them in moments when they felt small, invisible to the world, and you reminded them of who they were. The way you made them feel safe, valued, important. These things are not found in everyone. They are rare, and you were rare. So they will go out into the world convinced they can find another you. They will meet new people, share new conversations, seek new comforts. And at first, they may believe they have succeeded. They will tell themselves that life moves on, that replacements are inevitable. But slowly, inevitably, the truth will reveal itself. The conversations won't feel the same. The laughter won't carry the same warmth. The support they once took for granted will feel hollow, empty. They will find echoes of you, but never the fullness of what you were. The little things they never acknowledged before, the way your presence felt like home, the way you could ease their worries without words, will suddenly become glaring in their absence. And then, one day, they will wake up with a realization that is both simple and devastating. You were one of a kind. What they lost in you, they will never find again. They may find companionship, but they will not find your soul. They may find kindness, but they will not find the exact way you cared. They may find moments of connection, but they will never recreate the depth of what you once gave so freely. But by the time they understand this, it will no longer be your concern. You will have moved forward. You will have grown into an even greater version of yourself, one that no longer seeks validation from those who failed to see your worth in the first place. Because your value has never depended on their recognition of it. You must understand this truth deeply. You are irreplaceable. There will never be another you. You are irreplaceable. There will never be another you. And when people take you for granted, when they fail to cherish what they had, it is not your loss. It is theirs. And it is a loss they will carry far longer than you ever will. You are not valuable because someone says you are. You are not worthy because the world acknowledges it. Your worth is not dependent on another person's recognition, approval, or appreciation. It never was, and it never will be. You exist, and that alone is enough. Too often we fall into the trap of measuring our value through the eyes of others. We crave validation, waiting for someone to tell us that we are good enough, smart enough, talented enough, worthy enough. But what happens when that validation never comes? What happens when the people we once cherished fail to see us? What happens when they take us for granted, assuming that our presence is permanent, that our kindness is endless, that our loyalty is guaranteed? The truth is, some people will only realize your worth when they no longer have access to you. They will only begin to appreciate you when your absence creates a void they cannot fill. But you must understand something. This realization, their regret, their longing, it is not your burden to carry, because your worth does not rise and fall with their understanding. Imagine a rare gemstone, hidden in the earth for centuries. It does not beg to be found. It does not seek validation. It does not diminish in value simply because someone walks past it, unaware of its existence. Its worth remains constant, whether recognized or ignored. You are that gemstone. Whether people see you or not, whether they appreciate you or not, your value remains unchanged. When you tie your worth to the opinions of others, you hand them power over your sense of self. You allow their actions, their choices, their failures to shape how you see yourself. But consider this: what if their vision is flawed? What if their judgment is clouded by their own limitations? Should your self-perception suffer because someone else lacks the wisdom to recognize what stands before them? The greatest mistake you can make is believing that you need to be seen in order to be valuable. The greatest misconception you can fall into is thinking that someone else's failure to acknowledge your worth means that worth does not exist. Let me tell you, just because someone fails to appreciate the sun does not mean it ceases to shine. Just because someone walks past a masterpiece without a second glance does not mean it is not art. And just because someone let you go does not mean you were not irreplaceable. Think of all the people who once underestimated you. Think of all the times you were overlooked, dismissed, taken for granted. And yet, here you are, still standing, still growing, still becoming something more. That is the proof. Proof that their oversight did not define you. Proof that their inability to see your value did not determine your destiny. You must stop seeking yourself in the eyes of those who cannot truly see you. You must stop shrinking to fit spaces that no longer honor who you are. Because the moment you recognize your own worth, the moment you realize that you do not need external validation to be whole, you become untouchable. You become free. And when they realize what they lost, when they search for someone like you, when they reach for a version of you that no longer exists, let them. That is their lesson to learn, not yours. Your only duty is to keep moving forward, to keep growing, to keep becoming the person you were always meant to be. Your worth was never in question. It was always there. It always will be. Whether they see it or not is irrelevant. What matters is that you do. Life moves forward, whether we are ready for it or not. There is an undeniable power in understanding that what lies ahead is far greater than anything left behind. The past may have been filled with moments of joy, connection, and purpose, but clinging to it too tightly can blind us to the opportunities unfolding before us. When people fail to appreciate you, when they take you for granted, it is natural to feel hurt, betrayed, or even lost. You may find yourself wondering what went wrong, questioning whether you should have done something differently, or even wishing you could go back and change the past. But in doing so, you rob yourself of something far more valuable: the chance to move forward, to grow, and to step into the next version of yourself. There is an extraordinary beauty in embracing change, even when it is painful. It is often through loss, through separation, through being let go or walking away, that we truly discover ourselves. The truth is, those who fail to recognize your worth are not the ones who define it. You were valuable before they met you, and you will remain valuable long after they are gone. Your existence does not hinge on their approval, nor does your future depend on their recognition. Moving forward is not about proving a point. It is not about seeking revenge or making others regret their choices. True confidence is silent. It does not need to shout, does not need to seek validation, and does not waste time dwelling on those who fail to see its brilliance. True confidence simply is. When you understand that your best self is yet to come, you stop mourning what is lost and start anticipating what is ahead. Life is not meant to be lived in reverse. You cannot rewrite what has already been written, but you can craft the next chapter with more wisdom, more strength, and more self-awareness than ever before. Every experience, good or bad, shapes you. Every setback, every disappointment, every betrayal, and every goodbye adds to the depth of who you are. There will always be those who underestimate you. There will always be those who assume you will wait for them, that you will always be available, that you will remain unchanged. And when they realize their mistake, when they see what they lost in you, they will wish they had chosen differently. They may search for you in others, trying to find the same kindness, the same passion, the same loyalty, but they will never find another you. And by the time they realize it, you will be long gone, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. You will have moved on, grown into someone stronger, wiser, and more self-assured. That is the real victory. Not in making them regret, but in making yourself so fulfilled, so whole, that their absence no longer even crosses your mind. Your best days are not behind you. Your greatest achievements, your most meaningful relationships, your deepest joys, they are all ahead of you. But you will never reach them if you keep looking back, keep moving, keep evolving, keep becoming. The world has not yet seen the best version of you, and that is the most powerful truth of all.